Some jobs in the technology industry are quietly disappearing, not overnight, not in dramatic waves, but slowly. Roles that once seemed stable begin to shrink, change, or merge into other positions. Engineers who entered those areas years ago sometimes discover that the market no longer values the same work in the same way. Understanding why this happens requires looking at how the technology industry evolves over time. Now, salary breakdown. Not every change in the tech job market begins with layoffs. Often the first signal appears in compensation. When demand for a particular role slows, salaries tend to flatten or stop rising. Companies may continue hiring, but compensation packages become less competitive. Over time, fewer engineers enter those specializations, and the role gradually becomes less central to how companies build software. This pattern has repeated many times in the history of the technology industry. Now, market demand. One reason certain roles fade is the constant search for efficiency inside technology companies. As tools improve, tasks that once required specialized teams may become simpler to implement. What once demanded dedicated engineers can sometimes be handled by generalist developers using improved frameworks or automation tools. For example, many areas of infrastructure management, deployment pipelines, and system monitoring have become easier to operate compared to a decade ago. This does not eliminate the need for skilled engineers, but it can reduce the number of specialists required for certain tasks. When fewer specialists are needed, the role slowly becomes less central inside engineering organizations. Technology evolves extremely quickly. New tools, frameworks, and platforms constantly reshape how software is built. Entire categories of work that once required specialized teams can sometimes become automated or absorbed into broader engineering roles. When this happens, the demand for certain job titles slowly declines. The work does not always disappear completely, but it often becomes integrated into other technical positions. Now, competition level. Another important factor is how knowledge spreads across the industry. In earlier years, many technical skills were difficult to access. Documentation was limited, training resources were scarce, and companies developed internal practices that few outsiders understood. Today, technical knowledge spreads rapidly through open documentation, online courses, engineering blogs, and developer communities. This makes it easier for large numbers of engineers to learn similar technical skills. While this democratization of knowledge benefits the industry overall, it also increases competition within certain roles. When thousands of developers share similar skill sets, companies gain flexibility in hiring, which can reduce long-term demand for narrow specializations. Another factor influencing the survival of a tech role is the number of engineers specializing in that area. If a large number of developers build careers around a narrow skill set, the market may eventually become saturated. Companies then gain the ability to hire experienced engineers without dramatically increasing compensation. This creates pressure on roles that rely on specialized but easily replaceable technical skills. Now, junior reality. For developers early in their careers, this dynamic can be difficult to see. Many engineers choose a specialization based on what appears popular or well paid at the moment. But technology markets often shift faster than individual careers. Skills that are highly demanded today may become less critical several years later as tools evolve and development practices change. This is one reason why many experienced engineers focus less on individual frameworks and more on deeper system knowledge. Now, long-term outlook. It is also important to recognize that the disappearance of some roles often signals the emergence of others. As technology systems grow more complex, companies frequently reorganize engineering teams around new technical priorities. A decade ago, many organizations focused heavily on application development alone. Today, companies invest heavily in platform engineering, cloud infrastructure, and data systems. Engineers who follow these shifts often discover that the industry does not truly eliminate opportunities. Instead, it continuously redistributes where technical expertise is most valuable. Understanding these transitions is one of the most important skills for navigating a long career in technology. Despite these changes, the technology industry continues to create new opportunities. While some roles decline, entirely new categories of engineering work appear. Cloud infrastructure, data platforms, artificial intelligence systems, and distributed computing have created technical fields that barely existed 20 years ago. Engineers who adapt to these changes often find new career paths opening as the industry evolves. Now, positioning strategy. Developers who want long-term resilience often focus on understanding how systems work beneath the surface. Knowledge of networking, distributed systems, infrastructure reliability, and system architecture tends to remain valuable across multiple generations of technology. These foundational areas of knowledge adapt more easily as tools and frameworks evolve. Engineers who understand systems deeply can often transition between technologies without losing relevance in the market. Now, risk and resilience. Every technical career eventually encounters shifts in the market. Roles expand, contract, or transform as companies change how they build products. Developers who continuously adapt their skills tend to remain resilient during these transitions. Those who remain tied to a narrow set of tools may find it harder to navigate industry changes. Now, final verdict. Tech jobs rarely disappear suddenly. Instead, they fade slowly as technology evolves and new systems replace old ones. Understanding these shifts early allows engineers to position themselves in areas of the industry that continue to grow.